Let me introduce our speakers today. We have two great individuals presenting on behalf of AireSpring today. We have Joseph Goodyear, who is our relatively new Vice President of Global Connectivity. Joseph joined AireSpring this year, just a few months ago, and he has a great career in international telecom. He started his career in 2009 at global telecom and technology company GTT Communications, which I'm sure you're all aware of. And then after a few years there, he moved on to Brodent, which is now Experio. And Joseph has been in charge with expanding the international growth initiatives of those organizations. But now we're happy to have him working with us, and he's doing the same thing here at AireSpring. A lot of you, you should be thinking about AireSpring if you run into international activities and opportunities. Our second presenter today is going to be Dave Pierce. Some of you may know Dave. He is our Director of Global Managed SD-WAN, and Dave's been with us a few years now. He has a great background as well. He has extensive knowledge in WAN optimization, IT infrastructure, and solutions integration. He has a telecom background as well. He spent some time at EXO, but more importantly, he spent a number of years at Aryaka, who we compete with in the global SD-WAN category. So great pedigrees here, great experience. These gentlemen have been very instrumental in shaping our global initiative. And with that said, I am going to hand the keyboard over to you, Joseph, and you can tell us a little more about yourself or dive into your presentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alan, for your kind introduction, and a pleasure to meet everybody on the call. It's only been 5 or 6 months since I joined AireSpring, and it's been quite the roller coaster so far. So it's exciting, and I'm looking to continue to grow this international side of the business even further. So with that being said, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a quick introduction on what we're looking to achieve in our agenda today. We're going to be presenting this webinar in 2 stages. One, based on our international connectivity expansion, what we're looking to do, what we've done so far, and what it means for the channel. And then tying that into our SD-WAN global offering as well, right? So I think there's a great mix between what I'm doing and what Dave is doing in terms of offering a fully managed global solution for not just the connectivity, but for the SD-WAN solution as well. So moving forward, the international connectivity portion of our business, hang on, Ellen, can you just move forward 1 slide? The international connectivity portion of our business has always been there, right? AireSpring has always said that we can offer international solutions. What that really means is that we had been quoting previously, but we didn't have the granular depth of what we really needed to be able to support the channel in the best possible way. So we did have international providers, and we can service international solutions. But what we want to do is get a little bit more granular in terms of our reach. So we've started to partner with vendors that we call vendors of excellence to support the demand that we're seeing internationally for SD-WAN and for international connectivity underlay solutions. With that also being said, those international vendors that we're starting to work with offer multiple different internet solutions around the world. So what you may consider DIA in the US may not be what you expect from DIA internationally, right? So there's over 200 countries around the world. There's a little bit of a nuance in all of these countries, and we can try and productize them in one way or another, but the idea is that we start to educate the channel, and we start to educate our end users in terms of what can be achieved in these particular countries around the world, and also bring unique service offerings to the table. With that being said, again, we want to kind of partner with not just any other vendor, but with vendors of excellence, and I'll kind of refer to what we mean by that in the next slide. And these vendors of excellence will ensure best practice to make sure that we're not just onboarding any other mother's brother as a vendor, but vendors that make most sense to onboard. The other thing is that there isn't a huge channel or an international channel vendor strategy within the channel. So there are multiple, there's thousands of carriers out there, right? Not every single carrier has the ability to integrate into the channel. A lot of the world, it's just not a thing. So we're looking to partner with the most competitive vendors and essentially leverage their service offerings internationally through the AireSpring value stack. So moving forward. Oh, sorry. So what we really want to do is decomplexify the connectivity provider choice. So you can go to a tier 1 carrier today, and they've got their preferred partners. And what we're trying to do is essentially create a multi-carrier solution where we're transparent to you and your end customer with what's really achievable in these countries, and advise why, right? Have a consultative approach to delivering links in Africa, for example. I spent a lot of time in Africa and the Middle East, and I think some people shy away from wireless connectivity. But in some of these African countries, it makes more sense to offer wireless based on the geography, based on the enterprise customer that's being serviced, based on the regulation in the country. Things can, I've seen situations in the past where we had copper links in Africa, and customers would have a service one day and then it would disappear the next because the copper had been stolen out of the ground. So there's things like that we can bring expertise to the table. So what we're trying to do is work with multiple carriers that have expertise in certain regions of the world, and be able to ensure cost-effective, diverse solutions. And what I mean by diverse solutions is for the SD-WAN offering that we have. If we don't have diverse primary and a secondary for diverse solutions on the SD-WAN, we're not going to be able to fulfill our commitment to the customer and create the IT ecosystem that they need. With that being said, moving forward to the regional services knowledge, again, I mentioned my previous history in Africa and the Middle East. We want to partner with carriers that have knowledge in multiple areas around the world. So, whether it be public holidays, which is, one thing in Central Europe, for example, they have a huge amount of public holidays, to regulation, to taxes, to whatever it may be. We need to partner with the best of breed in those particular regions of the world, as well as offering diverse products that we can leverage to be able to sell to end customers, using the channel relationships. And then the final part is the continued service management. And we want to partner with vendors and we have started to partner with vendors that make the most sense to support the Air NMS support system that we have today. So essentially being able to support all of these global locations completely proactively, where hopefully, we're resolving an issue that may have happened without you or your customer even knowing, and giving those kind of proactive updates. So that's kind of how we went out to the market to say, look, vendors, we know there's a million of you. We don't want to onboard every one of you, but we want to make sure that you guys offer the best of what we're selling to our customers as well. So in the last 5-6 months since I started, again, AireSpring previously, we can do anything everywhere, and this is not what I don't want you to think that we can't offer 15% of Europe. What we're trying to do is leverage our relationships to make sure that the carriers that we partner with have fiber or some form of connectivity across multiple countries within that continent. Telecom is so fragmented. Everybody needs to rely on one partner or another to be able to deliver the complete system. So there are going to be cases where we need a third or a fourth party access provider to be able to deliver that particular service to that particular location. So it doesn't make sense for us to onboard every carrier everywhere. We're getting very granular with the ability of our partners to be able to support the solutions that we're delivering in these particular locations. One thing you may think, Oceania, if we look at Australia and New Zealand, that's just part of it. But if we look at Fiji and Kiribati and all these little island chains, we don't see a huge amount of opportunity in those particular locations. So again, this has only been 5 or 6 months. So we've started to look at where makes most sense to focus our strategy. And this is based on the demand that we've seen internally at AireSpring for our underlay and our overlay connectivity solutions for SD-WAN. I want to show you some of the partners that we've onboarded, and you'll see that pink T in the corner right there is T-Systems. You may know them as T-Mobile. In Germany, they're called Deutsche Telekom. There's a whole bunch of names for them. Bell Canada. Some of these guys are the best of the best at what they do in the regions that they operate. So again, it goes down to that. We're looking at vendors of excellence. We need them to pass a strategic onboarding process to make sure that we're delivering our best, and what you would expect as a an integrator in the channel, and obviously support our end users. So again, it's not onboarding anybody, it's onboarding the carriers that make most sense based on the demand that we're seeing. Oops, sorry. So we've basically broken down our two internet, or our two global service offerings, into two internet products today. One is dedicated internet access, which we call a premium product. And the second is a broadband or a business internet access. And I'll kind of give you a quick overview of both, what that really means. So again, dedicated internet access, DIA, is what you expect in the US today. It's premium, it's a dedicated link, it's uncontended. In some parts of the world, people will sell you a DIA, but then they'll add on a premium cost for international routing. That happens a lot in Asia. And these are the kind of nuances that we want to be able to advise clients, right? So we want to be able to come and sit down with you and explain what's really available in some of these countries. And we'll go into China in a few slides as well. For DIA, we'll also include a static IP address by default, so that'll be a static /30. And obviously we can upgrade that to a /29. In some cases, we might need something called an IP justification form if there's a /28, or if there's a higher range of IP addresses. And these links kind of start from a 10 to a 10 gigs bandwidth offering. And again, this will be delivered over fiber. In some locations, we've seen situations in the past where we've had to deliver to oil companies in the middle of Saudi Arabia. There is no fiber in the ground, so it's either going to be a fixed wireless or a microwave solution. But we'll use the best technology that's available in that particular country at that particular time, and obviously advise when developments take place and economies become a bit more flexible in those particular locations. The broadband and business internet access is again a bit more nuanced. We have again multiple providers around the world that can do this, but it depends on a country by country basis. So if we look at our two neighbors to the north in Canada, we can offer a broadband service. In Mexico today, we are unable to offer a broadband service. That's purely because of the local providers that we work with. They don't offer broadband services on a wholesale level or to a resale level, just because the services are so, I would call them enterprise grade. There's not much value to be added to the stack unless we're doing something like adding in multiple different services alongside it. But in general, Mexico, for example, isn't a particular interesting location to offer a broadband solution. With broadband solutions, you'll get a dynamic IP address. I would love to say that it's applicable everywhere to offer a static IP address on top of that. But the reality is that will be an upgrade, and we'll be able to advise you on an ICB basis if that's really applicable in this particular location or not. For example, Poland is another location where we can't get a static IP address or even a broadband connection on with a static IP address. What these services really mean, and again, we're working with multiple partners around the world, and I wish there was one name for every solution, but there just isn't. They all classify their solutions in different ways, and they call them different things. But we've tried to basically eliminate some of what they call into these kind of five or six different kind of categories. So we'll be able to offer broadband solutions over fiber, which you may see as something called FTTX. FTTX is basically a catch-all for whether it be a house, a building, whatever. It's a fiber solution that's essentially shared, and they'll be able to get a good uptime and good upload, good download, that kind of stuff. Copper in some of the kind of, I would call them second-tier countries. Maybe fiber hasn't been rolled out as well as or as fast as it has been in more developed countries. Coax, which you're very familiar with in the US, it's a standard broadband connection. And then we can also offer in some countries broadband over a fixed wireless or a microwave solution. This happens a lot in South Africa, where there there is kind of a lack of fiber connectivity in some of these locations. The one thing to note with these is that there is no SLA, there is no premium routing option. It is purely to have some form of access to the internet at any point of time. So again, it comes back to, are we designing the right solution for that particular customer? And Dave and I will talk about this a bit further on, but we would love to be able to be involved in some of these conversations when you're having them with your customers and making sure we're designing the right solution for that particular customer. And the same reverse, right? So in some cases, a DIA service may not be applicable if there's only 2 or 3 people at location and they're only working there 3 days a week. Maybe a broadband solution is better than a DIA solution. So we'll bring multiple solutions to the table to make sure it makes sense for the customer. Okay, so with regard to the products and the service offerings that we have, one of the things that we're kind of committed to complete is that when we're delivering SD-WAN solutions, we're going to confirm the exact local access of the provider that you guys are basically leveraging, and the end customer will be using to be able to connect their offices. With that being said, there's also a demand for confirming what an AS number or which network the solution is using and which AS number is involved in delivering that internet breakout. Some of you may know what an AS number is, but every internet provider around the world, every ISP has their own AS number. AireSpring has one. And we want to make sure that for a primary and a secondary solution, we're leveraging our partners and also confirming this AS number diversity to make sure that we don't end up in a situation where if one link goes out, the second link goes out too. And we're seeing that in the marketplace a lot. You can be carrier diverse, but the AS number is really what it comes down to. We need to make sure that AS number is truly diverse and that access is diverse to make sure that SD-WAN solution truly, really works and is self-healing and meets all the needs for what the customer is really trying to achieve in their migration into an SD-WAN environment. We're kind of moving into Dave's world a little bit here, but I just kind of wanted to give you a quick overview of our SD-WAN solution. We have 2 solutions. We use VMware's edge devices to be able to support a OTT and a GPN deployment. And what we mean by GPN is a global private network. So AireSpring has a global private network that consists of 23 global private network POPs, or we call them gateways. And what we're trying to essentially achieve is getting the customer's end user location traffic onto a global network that AireSpring runs as quickly as possible. So we'll route that traffic onto the AireSpring GPN, the global private network, as quickly as we can, based on the gateway that we have within that region of the world. And obviously there's an increased SLA for this kind of stuff. And there's a higher performance with this kind of stuff as well, right? So there's going to be situations where this is where we need to engage this kind of solution. Maybe it's maybe a Fortune 500 company, maybe a higher tier kind of company, or maybe there's some cloud applications that we need to work around. But this is something that we want to bring to the table. Is that AireSpring has grown dramatically with our global private network, and I think it's gone from 15 POPs to 23 now. And again, that I kind of mentioned it, the seamless integration of the third-party access will manage all of that for you. So if you think of it, and Dave mentioned this to me, and I've used it as an analogy ever since, the global private network is basically our freeway, the AireSpring freeway across the world that is completely uncontended, and you have pure use of it. And we'll use our third-party access as the on and off ramps to get to your customer premises. And again, that seamlessly integrates with our VMware devices. Dave will talk to you about our Edge Network Intelligence solution. Again, it's machine learning. We want to get into analytics and making sure that our AI ops are created in line with what the customer wants to achieve. And also we can monitor and diagnose problems, hopefully in advance of what the customer is going to experience. The second part of our SD-WAN product service offering is a Fortinet product. This is a OTT service, so essentially you wouldn't get access to our global private network, but we'll still manage and monitor all of your global locations for you using third-party access and all of these third-party accesses will communicate together through the Fortinet SD-WAN box. And then the final thing is our premium internet access in China, which is basically created to enable our ability to offer a unified solution for an IT manager to basically incorporate China into their IT footprint. So if we look at China today, it's a little bit segmented in terms of what's really not achievable, but what's the norm in the rest of the world. So if we use the IT manager as an example, China is a challenge for those kind of IT managers. They've got staff on the ground in China that are essentially disconnected from the applications that the rest of the business are using. So we're using our premium internet access routing out of China to enable end users in China to be able to use the same platforms as the rest of the business is using. So if we look at Office 365, G Suite, if they're using a standard internet product in China today, they may have problems using those kind of services based on the firewall. But we've created this product to basically unify the Chinese counterparts with the alignment of the rest of the business. And it's basically enabled IT managers to encompass China as a location in the same kind of location in London, or what the end user would expect to be able to access in a developed country, and not that China's not developed. But there are some nuances in China that we need to navigate, and this product basically fits that solution. Okay. Ellen, can you just move on one slide? Okay. So what does this really mean for you and the channel? Again, I wanted to extend our global directory of international solution providers and have AireSpring manage them all, right? And again, it's not the goal to onboard everybody, it's onboarding the best of the best. And what we've seen with that, and some of the analysis that I've done since I started, is that we've been able to increase our solution availability. So we're able to offer more solutions in more places around the world with multiple different connectivity access options. By removing some of the providers that we've been working with before, we've been able to reduce delivery times, which is always good. And with that, cost reductions, right? So the less people you have in the chain, you're going to see some improvement in the pricing. When you have a better direct relationship with that end vendor or that last mile provider, you're going to see service insurance improvements. So you're not cutting out the chain, but you're able to work with that last mile engineer to be able to get that service up and running quicker, especially with AireNMS. So yeah, AireNMS is something that we really want to focus on as well. We can open up tickets on your behalf. We can actually see what's going, the up down of the solution at any point in time. But it's value within the stack that we're looking at, and that's a key point, especially when you're managing all of these global locations, and it can become quite the headache. The other thing to look at is multi-currency management. There are multiple currencies around the world. It's not just the US dollar. And some of these providers only work in local currencies. So we've created a solution to manage that. We also want to be able to offer you, as I say, Dave and I would love to be involved in your discussions with the customer to make sure that there's a clear and transparent understanding of what's really achievable in those locations. There's nothing worse than signing an order and then finding out that it can't really be achieved. That's, it doesn't make you look good, doesn't make us look good. It's frustrating for the end customer. So what our goal is to find out what's really available in these countries before we go and try and deploy it. And again, it's about meeting that solution that meets your end customer needs. So maybe they have an MPLS connection today. Quality of service management is challenged. Let's talk about it and figure out what's really needed at that particular location, because there are in some cases overspend and there are in some cases underspend, right? So end customers or end users get frustrated with what they have at each particular location. Multilingual support. We have staff from all around the world. There isn't a problem with managing that for your customer. And again, your end customer experience. So we want to make sure that we're engaging with multilingual teams to manage that expectation with these particular deliveries that we're delivering all around the world. And again, if we use myself and Dave, we want to be the subject matter expertise for you to bring to your table. I just wanted to go into what an ideal customer looks like. I get this question all the time. Obviously, a customer with a global presence is the key, but we want to focus on customers augmenting from MPLS into SD-WAN and what that really means for their IT ecosystem. Are they looking to save cost? They're looking for improvement. These are the kind of questions that again, Dave and I want to be able to ask and find out, and what their cloud strategy is, and all this kind of stuff to make sure that we're designing the solution right for them, not just always based on price. We also wanted to know where their challenges are internationally, in terms of, if we look at China, for example, that's a perfect product that we've created, where it makes sense for us to create a product to help them align with the rest of the IT ecosystem for an IT manager or IT director or VP or whatever that sits outside of China. We want the productivity in China to be equally as great as the rest of the world in terms of the IT abilities that they have on the ground there. One of the questions I would ask is what the future of their networks look like, especially post-COVID, right? So a lot of people want people to go back to work. We're managing this situation now where does that look like flex time? Does it do people leave because they're being forced to go back? But I think there's going to be a meeting of the minds, especially, companies are trying to figure out what this looks like with employees. And if you don't have a full staff there all the time, bandwidth requirement is going to go down, but on the other side, the applications that they're using is going to go up. So again, we need to ask those kind of questions. What does it look like now? What does it look like in a year, in 3 years? And again, we'll be flexible, and who knows what happens in the ether. But we're here to be able to support that and create a strategy of success, not just for now, but for the future as well. The other thing I would ask is, how do they buy their international services today? Are they using a local integrator? Are they using their IT manager on the ground at each particular location? Do they have cost center management? Do they, what I mean by cost center is, do they pool all of their budget in the locations around the world into one bucket? And then how do they manage that internally for performance and for management and for inventory management and all this kind of stuff, right? It becomes complex, and AireSpring has basically built the solution to be able to manage all of these kind of nuances that they have. And the next kind of thing that I just wanted to run through is, why would you want to do this as a broker, or as a channel, or as a integrator, or however you position yourself in the marketplace? This is bringing additional value. I don't know if people really discuss international connectivity, or if it seems too difficult, but the reality is it's becoming easier and easier. We just need to advise and educate end customers on what's really achievable with the alignment of our business units. The cost of bandwidth is significantly more internationally. I don't know if you knew this, but there's a significant increase in cost when we look at places in the Middle East, for example, or Africa, because it's harder to reach. As long as we're providing value, there shouldn't be a reason why we shouldn't go after this kind of business. And if you're closing, bigger deals, you have to close less deals. So let's focus on the big deals that make most sense and where we bring value. And I've seen this happen all over the world, where it is complex to work in Saudi Arabia, but we have the ability to do that now. And again, AireSpring has a great name in the channel, and this is all being co-branded with the AireSpring. AireSpring Global is AireSpring. You'll have the same white glove experience that you've experienced before, and you've come to expect over those years that you've been working with AireSpring. It's just an extension of what we've been doing previously, and bringing in these additional value offerings into your service stack as well. So I think that's the last slide I have. Yeah, and I'll move it on to Dave. So Dave, thank you for listening to me bang on about international connectivity, but now let's get into the technical stuff with the SD-WAN.
Thanks, Joseph. Appreciate that. Appreciate the great coverage and jumping through this. So, one of the things that we've talked about, that those of you who are familiar with us in the past from our global SD-WAN solution, we've got a great reputation within the U.S. We originally started with our VMware platforms and our SD-WAN solutions in the U.S. Due to that wildly successful rollout a number of years ago, we expanded that into our international offering, and we've continued to enhance that as well. So part of what we've done here, and when we've gone out in the past, we try to look at Gartner, we look at what we feel to be the best of breed solutions out there. And obviously we landed on VMware for a number of reasons. It's well recognized. A lot of your prospects, a lot of your clients are familiar with their solutions and so forth, going back to infrastructure as a service, all the way into the SD-WAN solutions that they offer today. And they're continually enhancing their service offering. We'll talk about one of those at a high level that Joseph talked about here a little bit ago, which is VMware's Edge Network Intelligence. When we get into that, we also obviously partner with Cisco and Fortinet for a variety of reasons. And as you can see, they're on the top side of the Gartner's Magic Quadrant. So to kind of update, I know Joseph did a great job of covering some of this at a very high level. We won't spend a lot of time here. We'll get more into the meat of some of the use cases and so forth. But just that you're aware, we have a fantastic SLA-backed global private network that we've developed, designed, we've continued to enhance. If you were talking with us maybe 5 or 6 months ago, at that point we had about 15 global private network POP locations. As you can see, we've expanded that quite favorably. We've added an additional 8 locations with a lot of focus in South America, for example, out of Sao Paulo. We've added another location within the US in Miami to help our companies that we represent get into Central America a lot smoother. And we've added a couple into one specifically in France to expand our European offering. But more importantly, as Joseph had talked about, we've got a lot of challenges. A lot of the companies that we represent come to us because of our footprint in Asia and Asia Pac. We spend a lot of time enhancing that specific part of the globe to give organizations a lot more options to take what Joseph spearheads with the internet connectivity, providing that dedicated internet access or what have you within those markets, but then also more importantly, getting them to that on-ramp or that expressway closer to their geographic region to bring that mission critical data and applications back. So it's highly available. It's dedicated access to and from China specifically. As you can see, we've expanded our reach, all about increasing application performance and giving our clients and your clients much more consistent internet connectivity and overall a better customer experience within that. So that's a good look at our footprint. We'll continue to expand upon that. Before we get into our actual deployment, I think it's important to look at what organizations do we focus in? Where do we have really good success? Now, we do support organizations that are software technology companies. We play a lot within retail, especially within the US and internationally. And then we also deal with healthcare within the US to utilize our SD-WAN offering. One of the biggest, most successful verticals that we've seen is within manufacturing, and it's for a number of different reasons. We want to share with you, and I want you to take away, as even Joseph had talked about, what do you key in on for your specific prospect base? I want you to kind of think about these next slides as who do I have within my customer base? Who do I have within my prospect base? Who matches and aligns with these types of challenges that they're seeing? And that's a good point to then engage with our organization. So when you think about manufacturing at a high level, we talked about this last year. We were seeing it. That is an industry that is facing a tremendous amount of digital disruption. What we mean by that is they're having to find themselves in a place where they've got to adopt more digital business models, whether it be IoT, big data, analytics, cloud. And they're really going through what a lot of industry experts are referring to as that fourth industrial revolution. And they're trying to play catch up. And some of the challenges that they have is just what we talked about. They're having to connect a lot of different devices. There's a lot of different types of analytics and things that they're trying to catch and capture. And that's where this E&I solution that we'll talk about in a minute comes into play. And they need to manage and leverage the different connections in terms of their priority. that's where the global SD-WAN and the SD-WAN edge devices themselves come into play. So when you start to hear these kind of challenges, think about us when it comes to the leader within the space. A lot of times too, when you start looking at far-reaching global locations, because they're manufacturing, a lot of times they don't have the IT staff and the production staff to support that. And they're not sure how to streamline that deployment process. So we work a lot with the IT and production staffs to ensure that those far-reaching locations are accounted for and have a good experience. When you start thinking about big data analytics, data backup and recovery, all of the additional information that these independent locations have to capture, it equates to a lot of data and a lot of moving of data transfer. And by utilizing our global private network in these instances, we're helping solve for their long data replication times between those far-reaching locations. So from a trusted advisor perspective, when you start to go out, it's important to understand what to look for. In this case, when you start to see that manufacturers or the manufacturing companies are wanting to isolate their network segments, we see that a lot. We see that because of especially multifaceted manufacturers who may have multiple business units or departments. A lot of times we'll find they're segmented, they're siloed, they run their own business, but there's also elements underneath of that that they've got to account for, and maybe ERP systems or Oracle applications or things of that nature. So we got to be able to bring that all back, and SD-WAN allows for that management and prioritization of that network traffic and the focus to ensure that those business critical communications has the best connection available. That's in combination with what we do with our internet, with our global internet solutions and our connectivity solutions, but also then obviously utilizing and parlaying that back into what we do with our SD-WAN solutions. So those are things to keep in mind, especially within manufacturing. One example or scenario, albeit we deal with manufacturing companies that may only have 2 or 3 locations, we also work with organizations that have hundreds of different locations. And one example is an auto parts manufacturer that we work with. They had over 168 global locations. They were looking to rip and replace legacy connectivity, legacy MPLS solutions, and really look to bring their business units under one bill, one invoice, one company to manage this. And they were managing, and they brought us in to manage multiple devices, multiple solutions in an HA, high availability configuration, utilizing our VMware edge devices, switches, a firewall overlay for those different locations. And we combined that and replaced where it was necessary and where it made sense from a cost-effective nature. We inserted global internet connectivity. We also focused in within China, as Joseph had talked about, global private network at key mission critical locations within China to support their ERP that resided back in the US. And as Joseph had talked about, we did implement at the back end of this our premium internet access in China that he spoke about. And we are looking right now to implement what we refer to as our edge network intelligence solution. Some of you may be saying, well, what is that? What makes us different? With our edge network intelligence solution, VMware's ENI that we refer to, Edge Network, natively integrates with our VMware SD-WAN gateway solutions, and it's an excellent tool for those organizations that have to deepen their understanding of their network architecture, right? So when you think about their at the SD-WAN edge point, and they have to become more and more familiar with their data flow. And it's taking a highly secure machine learning analytics engine, combining it with the artificial intelligence from an IAOps solution, and we've taken that and we're constantly fine-tuning that to develop, to identify, monitor, and diagnose problems with the devices connected at that enterprise edge. So in essence, it provides that IT operations and application manager actionable and automated insight into their network health and their application delivery. And if any of you who've been here for a while, have worked at AireSpring, had a chance to work with some of our solution engineers, love to refer to Chuck Long as one of the greatest analogy folks. ENI really, what he said, offers gauges on our car that no one else has. And we're really seeing that as we continue to dive into it, and it takes advantage of machine learning. It's an impressive product. We see that as a managed IT solution and continuing to gain a lot of value for our existing clients and for your clients who utilize that solution. So for sake of time, as we move through this, this gives you a good insight into what our global private network deployment looks like. If we look at this from the outside in, it's comprised of identifying those locations, implementing the edge devices, utilizing, hopefully under our umbrella, as Joseph referred to as our global internet connectivity options, where we recommend 2 different circuits or 2 different types of circuits at that end user location, which then also allows the SD-WAN edge device to really do what it does best, manage those 2 different circuits in what we call a dynamic multipath optimization model, and then connect back into our global private network locations, that then we take those mission critical applications and move those across the freeway to give a higher level of performing network and better SLA metrics to ensure that they have a consistent internet connection and customer user experience. So, and we overlay that too with our Air and MS link monitoring. Joseph talked about that, but it's important to understand at that end user level, at that internet connectivity level, we've got the capabilities to really dig in and proactively support that. And so this gives you a good feel for that. It's our primary focus, but we can also support organizations in an over-the-top delivery where they don't connect to our global private network. And either way, they get to utilize our web-based SD-WAN portal or orchestrator in a read-write model. We do support organizations. They've got the choice as they become more and more familiar with the solution. We will set that up and configure appropriately. And again, all designed to give them the capability and insight and visibility to manage that network. Moving through, this gives you an idea. Our primary goal is to maintain quality of experience. As you see on the left-hand side, you'll see that organizations not utilizing a global private network really run the risk of having a lot of packet loss, jitter, latency that's inconsistent that will impact their employees' user experience or even potentially their partners and customers downstream. So that's what we do there. And our goal is to get to the right-hand side to give them a better and maintain that quality of experience. So that gives you an idea at a very high level. We would recommend, if you want to get a deeper dive, we would pull into solution engineers to support that. But that gives you good feedback into our global SD-WAN solution. It's important too, and our goal today is to really look at global managed solutions, and we want to look at it in a simplified model. So we do provide, as Ellen will provide in the next week or so, the different tools that we recommend to utilize, from battle cards to our website, videos that will help you open up the doors and avenue for discussions with your existing prospects and customers. And we also, as Joseph mentioned, it's really important to help win deals and win them early. We definitely recommend getting us engaged at the discovery stage so we can understand the needs and requirements, right-size the opportunity to help you win those deals faster. And so these are some of the different tools that you'll be seeing shared with you when this goes back out. Because this will be included in the presentation, and for sake of time today, we won't spend a lot of detail in this, but it's also important, Joseph touched upon this, it's important to understand what the buyer persona is and who should I connect with. I think many of us who may have been in legacy IT and telecommunications, it was always focused on the technical buyer, right? The CTO, the CIO, director of technology, and so forth. But now with the application-specific focus, these applications now are impacting the business buyers within an organization as well as the corporate buyer, like human resources, your CFOs, your director of operations. Many organizations are also hiring chief digital officers. So now you get a chance to look at your existing base, look at new prospective clients, and go much broader within the organization. And that ideal company that we look for, Joseph touched upon some of this, branch offices located in different continents. They're looking to replace their incumbent less expensive global solutions in place today. We're a great fit to do that by looking at the overall existing infrastructure, seeing where we can help them save money, and also increase the performance of their new and what we would call a technology refresh when they come to us today. One other element that we look at is who else should we connect with? And trying to move that slide. Looks like we're getting hung up a little bit here. There we go. It's jumping ahead. I think one is the biggest takeaway that we've seen from a lot of partners that we work with is once we understand their issues, we understand their motives to purchase. And every one of these different buyers has that, and you can see that here. But I think one of the biggest takeaways of today is we know we're starting to deal with more complex infrastructure. There's too many vendors, there's too many different devices, there's too many different options, there's too many different agreements to sign. And one of the key components here is that we can get this all under one roof, under one invoice, under one bill, with one point of contact. And a lot of organizations like that, a lot of partners like that, because you don't have to go out and try and generate agreements, generate proposals, and get all this stuff where you've got segmented offerings. So looking at that, that's where we'd like to focus as you look at utilizing us today. And we've got the capabilities to do that across these different buyers. So in kind of wrapping, where do we sit? Joseph touched upon this. It's all about engagement and enablement. Each business unit, his business unit, our business unit, you can engage us independently if these two products don't come across, but you also get the value of utilizing both of our resources, both of our solution sets and our capabilities, where those opportunities fall outside of the US and where those two are combined. And our goal with this is to really help with the onboarding process, much like you're seeing today. We're going to give you the training and education, both for that. We're going to give you the tools and resources from battle cards, needs requirements forms, pitch decks, and that all can be found within AgentStar. And we're here to help with our solution engineers as far as kind of what we refer to as a partner ecosystem and support to help you through the lead, the opportunity pipeline, help you through that sales process, to really help you increase your odds of winning those deals, and by utilizing the tools that we have to do so. With that, I'd like to wrap up. And again, want to say thank you, appreciate the time. And what we refer to as next steps, take a look at your current and existing client base, your prospect base, think about where this makes sense to add to your solution portfolio. We're excited to become more of an AireSpring partner. If you want to become one, engage your channel managers today. We're here to help you promote those solutions, and let's go close some deals together.